What's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and first off, I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy during these crazy times with the coronavirus pandemic. Hope you all are practicing social distancing, and just overall, you and your families are doing well. With all that said, it's time for another top 10 video. In this video, with the MLB season, well, it's supposed to be going on right now. It should be in about its first week, second week or so. I'm going to just give my ranking of the top 10 players at each position today, starting with the first baseman in Major League Baseball, the top 10, if you will. If you have watched any of my top 10 videos in the past, I don't solely look at the player stats. I also take into account where they are in their respective careers, and if I were starting a team, whether or not I would actually want them on my team. Also, my position listing is going based off where each player played for the majority of their games during the 2019 season. And I know some guys, they shift around a little bit. For example, DJ LeMahieu of the Yankees played the majority of his games at second base last season for New York, despite being listed as a first baseman. So he's not eligible for this list, but will be eligible for the second baseman's list. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. At number 10, we have Carlos Santana. Santana has been part of the Indians organization all but 1 year in his career, as he spent one season with the Phillies. As Santana has gotten older, he has shifted away from playing first base every day, as he only started in 135 of 158 games he played. One of the perks of being in the AL is that if you are a solid hitter, you could play some DH, and I expect this trend to continue in the 2020 season. This past season, he recorded his career high in errors at first base position with 10. There have been a couple years where he recorded 11 errors, but those did not all come when he played first base. Santana, during his first 9 seasons, has been pretty much more so known for his bat, and this past season, he had a career year as he set career highs with hits in 161, tied his career high in home runs with 34, and had a career high in batting average, hitting 281. And for the first time in his career, had a slugging percentage of over .5 with a .515 ranking in the upper echelon of qualified first basemen across all categories. Ultimately, the reason why Santana is at number 10 is because he is the second oldest guy on this list, and all the other guys on this list have either had a better career or are younger. And if I were building a team, Santana would not be my first choice if I'm looking for an all-around first baseman, someone where I could play every day at first base, will be solid in the field and solid at the plate. Santana has been fun watching him during his career, and I hope he still has a few more good years left in him, but I can't have him any higher at 10. So Carlos Santana, number 10 on my. At number 9, we have Eric Hosmer. Hosmer is now entering his ninth season, since if a rookie doesn't play a certain amount of games in their first year, the season basically doesn't count toward the player's years of service. It's weird in baseball. If Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is getting screwed the same way by the Blue Jays, and it happens all around Major League Baseball, it needs to be changed. But regardless, this will be his third season with the San Diego Padres after they signed him to an 8-year, $144 million contract prior to the 2018 season. In his time with the Padres, Hosmer's played well, but not at a superstar level, which is why he's not higher on this list. Last season, Hosmer had 164 hits, 22 home runs, a batting average of .265, and a WAR of negative .3 on offense, ranking him 5th, 14th, 9th, and last out of qualified first basemen. His defensive stats were not the greatest, as he had 14 errors and had a defensive wins above replacement at negative 1.4, ranking him 5th and last out of qualified first baseman once again. The reason ultimately as to why he is on this list is because he has shown the ability to play at a much higher level, as shown by his final few years in Kansas City. The reason why he ranks ahead of Santana for me is strictly because he is 3 years younger. And in baseball, age matters greatly, especially at the first baseman position, because you're going to have to react quick and move quickly when fielding the ball. Hitting is a different story, but especially at the first baseman, age is a key differentiator. So Eric Hosmer, number 9 on my list. For the majority of his career, Joey Votto has not only been one of the top first basemen in baseball, but one of its best players in the entire game, and that's why he is at number 8 on my list. In his 12-year career, all of which with the Cincinnati Reds, Votto has started to show signs of decline in the last 2 seasons. He had 27 home runs, 280 hits, 114 RBIs, and has struck out 224 times and has a batting average of .273 in those last 2 seasons. At the age of 36, Votto is no longer the same guy defensively either, and is one of those guys who would probably benefit from playing on an American League team, as he would not need to be relied upon to play in the field every single day, as he could really be a solid designated hitter for any team. That is why I have him above Hosmer and Santana, because from what I've seen from Votto, although the numbers might not necessarily suggest it, I feel like he does have a couple more good years left in him. He just needs to be given the right situation, and frankly, I don't see that with the Reds. They're a team that's transitioning away from the old guard. Brandon Phillips is no longer there. Votto's getting up there in age. I'm trying to think of other guys who are on that team. Jay Bruce for a long time was on that team. It's just not the same team as it once was. There's getting guys younger who like a Scooter Gennett type. Puig was on there for a little bit, but although he's no longer there. Neither here nor there. Votto, I think, needs to be given the right situation. So he is number 8 on my list, but that could change very, very easily depending on where he plays going forward. At number 7, we have Jose Abreu. Since entering the league back in 2014, Abreu has been uber consistent. Unfortunately for him, the White Sox teams that he's played on have not been as good. This past season, Abreu had a batting average of .284, had 180 hits, 33 home runs, and 123 RBIs, as well as a offensive WAR, of 2.4, ranking him 4th, 2nd, 6th, 1st, and 9th among qualified first basemen. Defensively during his career, Abreu has been below average at best. Last season, Abreu committed 8 errors and had a defensive wins above replacement of -1.2, ranking him tied for 7th and 12th among qualified fielding first basemen. Abreu is currently 33 and is one of the older guys on this list, which makes things very hard when it comes to ranking him higher. The reason as to why I do have Abreu ahead of Votto, Hosmer, and Santana is because he does have a significantly better bat than those guys. And at least with Abreu, I can count on him more at the plate than those other 3 guys at their respective points in their career. It'll be interesting to see Abreu, what he does going forward, given he is a little bit older. He'll probably shift to playing more DH, given the fact that he plays on an AL team. So it'll be interesting to see there. But as of right now, I have Jose Abreu as my number 7 first base. At number 6, we have Anthony Rizzo. From 2014 to 2017, Rizzo was arguably the best first baseman in all of baseball. The last couple years, however, Rizzo has fallen off a little bit. Last year, Rizzo played in only 146 games, racking up 150 hits, 27 of which were home runs, 94 RBIs, and had a batting average of .294. Solid numbers, but the only way you can see how he stacks up against other first basemen is by looking at every single first baseman in the league. He is not considered eligible for a qualified first baseman's list, which frankly I don't know what means a qualified first baseman or what makes one not. But Rizzo is just not on that list, so that's a kind of a slight knock on him. He did turn 30 back in August and has a lot more baseball left to play, let's be real, barring injury. And that is the main reason why I have Rizzo at 6, because I feel like he can turn things around. And if I were starting a team, I would much rather have Rizzo than Votto, Santana, Hosmer, or Abreu. Just in my opinion, I think Rizzo has a lot more upside. And I think he's just gone through a bad stretch. After that high of winning the World Series with the Cubs, Rizzo and that Cubs team as a whole has just been on the slight downturn. I think they can turn that around, and Rizzo will be a key piece for that. So as of right now, I have Anthony Rizzo at number 6 on my list. At number 5, we have Rhys Hoskins. Since bursting onto the scene back in 2017, Hoskins has quickly risen the ranks to be considered not only a top player at his position, but a top player in the league. Now, you may be asking yourself, how can I say Hoskins is a top player in Major League Baseball, but only be the 5th best first baseman? The reason is because of the sample size on Hoskins. It's not all that big, and compared to year 2, he regressed a little bit in year 3. This past season, Hoskins had a batting average of .226, 129 hits, 29 home runs, and 85 RBIs, while striking out 173 times. Out of the 17 first basemen who qualified, those would rank him 16th, tied for 12th, tied for 10th, solo 12th, and 2nd. It's just all over the board. That's what's so concerning about me and Hoskins. He's middle to the back of the pack in the major hitting statistical categories, but still struck out the 2nd most among first basemen. This is a trend that cannot continue if Hoskins wants to experience a long career, because as he gets older, it's hard to continue to produce as a hitter, at least as you did when you were younger. The timing's a little bit different. The speed slows down in terms of your bat speed, and the total number of strikeouts will continue to rise. So Hoskins, he needs to get that strikeout number under control, at least in my opinion, if he wants to continue to produce. And he's on a Phillies team right now that has guys like a Bryce Harper and a JT Realmuto, a catcher. Like, that team can do some things, and Hoskins is going to be a major factor if they want to do anything in the postseason and going forward in the future. So as of right now, Hoskins, number 5 on my list. At number 4, we have Matt Olson. Olson is another guy who is a star in the making out in Oakland. After playing in all 162 games in 2018, Olson was only able to muster 127 in 2019, but arguably performed better in 2019 than 2018. This past season, Olson had more home runs and RBIs, as well had a higher batting average and WAR than 2018, with 36, 91, 267, and 5.1. Those ranked Olson 4th, 10th, 8th, and 2nd among qualified first basemen. Olson's 129 hits also put him in a tie for 12th with Hoskins among qualified first basemen. The reason why I have Olson so high is because he has shown that he has the capability, to continue to get better. And he's still really young, turning 26 just turning 26 this past month in March. Olson has a bright future ahead of him, barring injury. He and along with the rest of the young core being assembled out in Oakland, can do some big things down the road, and I am very eager to see what they can do. At number 3, we have Paul Goldschmidt. Over the course of his 9 seasons in Major League Baseball, Goldschmidt has been uber consistent. Outside of his rookie season, where he only played in 48 games, Goldschmidt has played in 145 games all but once, when he played 109 in 2014. This past season, his first in St. Louis, mind you, Goldschmidt was a really solid player, hitting .260 with 155 hits, 34 home runs, and 97 RBIs. In those categories amongst all first basemen, because he didn't qualify as considered a qualified first baseman, once again, weird, Goldschmidt ranked 23rd, tied for 7th, tied for 5th, and 8th. The issue is that Goldschmidt did not garner the title of being qualified, like I mentioned, which is why I can't have him in my top 2. Also, he's getting a little older now at 32, and if I were starting a team, there are 2 guys who I'd rather have over Goldschmidt. Obviously, that's why I have him number 3. Those guys are younger. They've just have brighter futures ahead of them. Not saying that Goldschmidt has had a bad career, or I don't think he's going to produce going forward. I think he will. I think he will have a solid next few years in the 2020s, but I think the guys at number 2 and number 1 are a step above him and everyone else. So as of right now, Paul Goldschmidt is number 3 on my list. At number 2, we have the polar bear, Pete Alonso. This might be just because Alonso had a historic rookie season, but let's be real. Who wouldn't want Pete Alonso to be their first baseman of the future? In his rookie year, Alonso hit the most home runs ever by a rookie with 53, had 115 total hits, 120 RBIs, a batting average of .260, and a WAR of 5. WAR, by the way, means wins above replacement, if you didn't know that. Those would rank 1st, 7th, 3rd, 11th, and 3rd amongst qualified first basemen. At the plate, obviously, Alonso will take a step back in year 2 whenever the 2020 season starts, but I can still see Alonso being a top player at his position for 10 plus years, barring an injury. The thing with Alonso he needs to shore up is his fielding. Alonso had 12 errors and a defensive wins above replacement of negative 1.6, ranking 16th out of 16 in defensive WAR, and ranking up the 3rd most errors amongst qualified first basemen. Alonso has a very bright future ahead of him. And like I said, barring injury, and for a Mets franchise that has not had a whole lot to cheer for in recent years, Alonso can be a beacon of hope for Mets fans that have been waiting for since the Johan Santana, David Wright days back in the early 2010s. He just needs to shore up that fielding. If he can tighten that up and be a little bit better in the field, Alonso will be the best first baseman without question. So as of right now, though, I have Pete Alonso at number 2. At number 1 is Freddy Freeman, a guy who has probably been a top 10, maybe even top 5 guy at first base during his career, but following a really good 10th season, Freeman has finally taken the crown of being the best first baseman in all of baseball. This past season, he had a batting average of .295, 176 hits, and a career highs in both all home runs and RBIs with 38 and 121. Freeman ranked 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd in those stats respectively amongst qualified first basemen, clearly putting him as the best first baseman statistically, or he's one of the top guys statistically, and the most consistent guys in 2019. And yes, he is a little bit older, but I personally don't think that will be much of an issue for at least a few years in Freeman's case, because he is just that good of a player, and he's only gotten better with age. He's like fine wine, and with that core of down in Atlanta with him, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Dansby Swanson is short, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other guys. I'm not going to lie, I don't watch a whole lot of Braves baseball, but when Freeman is on, I am going to watch him because he is that good. So Freddie Freeman is the best first baseman in my opinion. So what do y'all think? Did I get it right? Who did I leave off that you think should be on this list? And who did I put on this list that you think, you know what, they should probably not be a top 10 first baseman? I would love to hear your comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to maintain social distancing, continue practicing that, and I hope you and your family stay safe during these crazy times. Believe me, we will all get through this very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.